Hi, this is Paulina with Jabber Games, and today we're going to teach you how to play Alpha Pack. So if you have 2 to 5 players and an hour of free time and you like dogs like we do, you are surely to have a good time with this game. So let's get started.
Let's start with Alpha Pack setup. First off, we will deal 4 cards to each player. In this scenario, we have 3 players, so each person gets 3 bone cards, 1, 2, and 3 bone, and 1 personal dog objective card as well. Now, let's set up the drawing stacks. We will be making 3 stacks, a supply stack, which includes shelter cards and all the remaining bone cards, an accessory stack with all the purple cards that we have in the game, and last but not least, a dog stack, which includes all of the dogs and the 4 event cards. To shuffle the event cards in, we will first separate the dog cards into 4 roughly similar stacks, and then we will put each event at the bottom like this. That way the events are spaced out evenly in the game. Then we will reassemble the stack. After all 3 stacks are set up, make sure to leave some space next to each one for future discard piles. Finally, we will set up the pack cards. These are the cards that will ultimately give us points in the game. We will use 15 for a regular game or 12 for a short version or a 2-person version. Then we will reveal some of the cards. In this case, there are 3 players in the game, so we will flip up 4 pack cards. So basically as many as there are players in the game plus 1. Those are now available to be claimed by the players throughout of the game, and they will give us points when we claim them. Lastly, we will put these star tokens on the table. Those represent extra points we can receive for completing our personal dog objectives, but we will talk about that a little bit more later on. Now, let's go over some different cards that we have in the game. So we have these bone cards, 1, 2, and 3 bones, which basically work like a currency. You will use them to adopt dogs, and each dog is priced differently. You will see a number of bones on each dog card, and that's how many bones you have to collect and acquire before you can adopt said dog. Then we have the shelter cards. They are our housing for our dogs that we have collected. There are 3 different sized shelters in the game: a small dog bed, a medium dog house, and a large dog house. Each one can host a different amount of dogs, which is denoted in the top right corner, like I mentioned before. Then we have the dog cards. We have 9 different dog breeds in the game of 3 different sizes. So as you can see, large dogs have green background and require 3 bones to be adopted. Medium dogs have blue background and require 2 bones, and the small dogs have pink background and require just 1 bone to be acquired. There is also a mutt card, which is basically a wild card that can work as any dog of our choice. So that's a very valuable card in the game. So sprinkled into the dog stack, we also have the event cards. They are these ominous red cards. There is 4 of them in the game, and they are designed to basically cause chaos. For example, when the cat event comes up, each player will lose one of their largest dogs. We will touch on the other events later on in the video. Then we have these purple cards, the accessories. There are 12 of them in the game, and each one is different, and each one will help the player in a specific way. Usually they are self-explanatory. There's writing on the cards that will tell you exactly what the card does, but we will go over those in more detail later on as well. Now let's move over to these pack cards over here. They are basically our point cards. Each one depicts a group of dogs you will need to collect and shelter in order to be able to claim that card. For example, to get this card over here, you will need to have acquired 5 medium dogs of any breed, in this case, plus adequate shelters that can house all of them. If you have met all these requirements, you can take the card and you will be scoring these points over here. Now that you know how to set up the game, let's go over gameplay. During your turn, you can do a couple of different things. Most importantly, you will be drawing cards, and that's a mandatory action. So you can draw cards from one of these 3 rows. You will choose a row, and then you will only draw from that chosen row. For example, you can draw 1 card from the accessory row, but only 1. Either that, or you can draw 2 cards from the supply row, so the bones or shelters, or you can adopt 1 or 2 dogs from the dog row if you can afford it. So if you have enough bones to do that. Now let's go over the adoption and the exchange process. So to adopt a dog, you have to use the bones that you have collected in the previous rounds. You will add the bones together if you need to, and you will be spending them, putting them on the discard pile in order to adopt a dog or 2 dogs. You can also try to exchange for a dog that is on the table that you would like to have. So you can use previously collected dogs that you have in your hand that equal the bone value of the dog that you're interested in that's on the table. Just remember that you can only exchange for 1 dog that is on the table. You can use several dogs from your hand to do so, but only 1 dog from the table can be exchanged. The dogs that you use in the exchange process will also go to the discard pile. You cannot, however, combine the dogs and the bones together to try to buy a dog. One important thing to know, any excess bones are lost and are not returned to the players. So if I pay for this medium dog with my 3 bone card, I do not get 1 bone back. In addition to drawing cards from the table, there are other actions you can do on your turn. And important thing to know is that you can do your actions in any order. So you do not have to draw first. You can do these other actions first if you'd like. So the other actions are using accessory cards and claiming a pack card. So let's go over using an accessory card first. These additional actions are not mandatory, so you can opt to use your accessory card or not, or keep one for later use. You can claim a pack or not. You can wait until your next turn to claim a pack. It's all up to you. So the accessory cards. If you have collected any purple cards throughout your game, you can choose to use one on your turn, and that is an additional action. You can still draw your cards from one of the 3 rows, and you can play your accessory card. So depending on which card you play, you may get different perks, different things that will help you in the game. For example, you can opt to use a dog whistle whistle. You can basically request a dog from the other players. You can use dog treats, which will allow you to adopt one dog for free in addition to your turn. So you may have already adopted one or two dogs on your turn, but dog treats will allow you to adopt one more at no cost. Once you use your accessory card, you will put it on the appropriate discard pile, and then you will move on. You can also claim your pack on the same round. So technically, there are 3 things you can do on each turn if you choose to do so. Like I said, the drawing action is mandatory. You have to draw cards from one of the 3 rows. The other 2 are optional. Let's talk about some other interesting cards that we have, the accessory cards. For example, there are 2 that will protect you from those bad red cards, the event cards. Those are the leash and the fence. Those are pretty useful. The fence basically will protect all of your cards if you choose to use it, and the leash will protect your dogs. It can protect you for the dog whistle or the birthday party also, but it's probably most useful as protection from the events because those are the most disruptive. Some other interesting cards, for example, Double Trouble, very good card. Basically, it doubles any card of your choice except for another purple card. So that one is pretty desirable. You also have a dog costume that basically changes a breed of a dog to another breed of your choice that could help you with claiming a pack. Off the leash will remove one dog of your choice from one pack card of your choice. That's also very valuable. It basically will make a pack card much easier to claim. We also have Trash and Dash, which basically lets you go through supply discard pile. You will shuffle it, you will look at 5 cards that you deal to yourself, and then you will be able to keep 2 of those cards. So Trash and Dash is useful whenever you are trying to get some more bones or some more shelters, and maybe there aren't that many on the table at the moment, so that can help you. An extra card will just allow you to get 1 extra card by either drawing a card from the accessory or supply row, or by adopting or exchanging a dog from the dog row at normal cost. So in addition to your normal drawing, you will be drawing once again 1 more card basically with this one. There is also my favorite birthday party card, which basically allows you to request gifts from all the other players, and each of those players have to give you 1 card of their choice. So that's one way to get some, maybe 1 bone cards, maybe some small shelters, or maybe even small dogs from other players. So that's a fun one. There's also Dog Hotel, which basically acts as a big shelter. It allows you to house 2 dogs of any size. Normally, you cannot mix sizes, but in case of the Dog Hotel, you can. You can choose to host, for example, a large German Shepherd in it, together with a medium Shar-Pei, for example. We also have a Bubble Popper. It will help you with one of the pack cards as well. It basically removes all of those bubbles from 1 pack card, which can be huge if it's a big card with worth a lot of points, and you now have no bubbles on it. Your dogs do not have to be all the same breed anymore, so it's much easier to obtain and to claim that pack card. Lastly, we have Superstar. Superstar card will allow you to double your star tokens whenever you claim a pack card. So if you have collected a lot of dogs that match your personal objective, it would be beneficial for you to get the Superstar card, as that can get you a lot of points. Like I mentioned before, you can also claim a pack on your turn if you have collected all the dogs and all the shelters that are necessary to collect one of the pack cards. So depending on the pack card, you need to have all the dogs depicted on it, and those dogs have to have adequate shelter. Remember that dogs of different sizes cannot share a shelter unless you have dog hotel. Keep that in mind. Also, if you are claiming a pack with any of your dog objective dogs, you will receive a star token for each of those dogs. So it is important to try to collect as many as you can of that breed that is on your secret objective card. Once you have claimed a pack card, you will take it and you will replace it with a new card that you will flip over from the grid, and you can choose it at random, and that will be the next card that will be available for grabs now on the table. Once your turn is over, you will replenish any missing cards by drawing from the corresponding decks, and then the next player will begin their turn. When an event is revealed from the dog deck, it will occur before the next player's turn. It will occur immediately. So let's go over some events. So the events are supposed to cause chaos in the game, like I mentioned before. They will negatively affect all the players in the game unless a player opts to use a leash or a fence that they have collected beforehand in the game. You can opt to use one of those cards to protect yourself from an event, or you can choose to take part in the event and use your fence or leash later on. It's really up to you. So let's go over some possible events. There's 4 of them in the game, and they are all pretty bad, although some of them are obviously worse than the others. So I mentioned the cat before. The cat is pretty simple. Each player loses their largest dog. If you have a mutt, you can also choose to discard the mutt instead if that benefits you for whatever reason. But normally you would lose your largest dog. So for example, if I only had a medium Shar-Pei and a mutt, then I can opt to get rid of either one. If I had the Shar-Pei and, say, a small Maltese, I would have to get rid of the Shar-Pei. Then we have the thief. So the thief is basically stealing a card. You will be blindly drawing one card from the hand of the player to your left. So everybody steals one card from the person to your left. Unless obviously you use one of your protective cards, so the leash or fence. My favorite one, the event dog pile. That's a fun one. Basically, you may or may not lose all of your dogs. Well, technically, you do not lose them. You will get some dogs back. So how it works is that all players basically take all of their dogs that they have from their hand. They will put them in the middle of the table, face down. We will shuffle all of these dogs together, and then we will re-deal all the dogs to the players, and you will get the same number that you put in, so you'll get the same amount of dogs you did have. However, they may be all different dogs now. So that's fun. That may change your strategy. And the last event we have is Swapperoo. So Swapperoo is interesting. You will pass all of your cards in your hand together with your dog objective to the player on your left for just one turn. And everybody performs the gameplay as usual, just as if you were that other player with their hands. You will replenish the dog row before swapping hands, so that all the cards are on the table. And interesting thing to know is that any cards that you obtain on this round, obviously they go back to the original player, the owner of the cards. Let's go back to the pack cards. We will show you one example of a pack card and how you can claim it. So, for example, the pack card number 24. So 24 points is what you can score if you manage to claim it. So in order to do so, you will have to collect these 6 dogs that are depicted on this card. So 2 large, 2 medium, and 2 small dogs. That's a lot of dogs, that's a lot of points. But also important thing, those dogs are in bubbles. There are 3 bubbles on the card. Each bubble just means that the dogs in the bubble have to be the same breed. So in this case, we need 2 large dogs of the same breed, for example, 2 labs. And then we need 2 medium dogs of the same breed, for example, 2 Shar-Peis, and 2 small dogs of the same breed again, so maybe 2 Maltese. Once you collect all those 6 dogs that meet those requirements, you also need to be able to shelter them. And remember that each shelter can only house dogs of the same size. So the 2 big ones could technically go together in a shelter, and 2 medium ones as well, and the small ones as well. However, that means that you still need at least 3 different shelters, possibly more if the shelters are small. So make sure you have enough shelter space for all those dogs, and once you do, you can claim this card on your turn, and that will give you 24 points, so pretty good. There are also several accessory cards that could potentially help you. For example, the Dog Hotel that we talked about, or the Double Trouble, which could double a shelter or double a dog. Or, for example, the Off the Leash card, which would basically get rid of one of these dogs on the card. For example, you could decide to get rid of the large dog. And in this case, you will only have 5 to collect, and that changes the card a little bit and makes it easier to get. So once you have obtained all of the cards needed, all of the dogs and shelters, you receive that card. You will claim that card on your turn, and you will get the points for it. Now, additionally, if you used any of your personal dog objective dogs in order to claim this card, for example, if you used 2 Shar-Peis to claim this card amongst the other dogs, and so it happens that Shar-Pei is one of your dogs from your secret objective dog, you will also receive 2 star tokens, and each of those will be worth 2 points at the end of the game, so that can add up. So it is beneficial to try to claim packs using the dogs from your objective card. The game continues until there are only 3 pack cards left in the grid on the table. Now, when that happens, it triggers the end of the game. At this point, all players get 1 additional turn, including the player that initiated the final round. After the final round, you will add up all the points that you have collected, so all the points for the pack cards, all the points for your star tokens, and additionally all the points from the dogs that you can shelter that you have left over in your hand. So if you didn't have the time to claim a pack, or somebody else claimed it before you could and the game ended, there is still a way to get some points. You just have to make sure that any dogs you have left in your hand, you can also shelter. If you do, you will get 3 points for any large dog that you can shelter, 2 points for any medium, and 1 point for any small. Additionally, any of these leftover dogs, if any of them matches your dog objective, you will also get plus 1 point per each of those. So you will add up all your points, and the player with the most points wins. So this is Alpha Pack. We tried to cover all the most important information in this video. There is more in the rulebook, so please refer to that. And if you have any questions about any of the rules or cards, please do not hesitate to contact us through our email or a Facebook message, and we'll gladly respond to any of your inquiries. I hope you guys enjoyed the video today, and I hope you enjoy Alpha Pack.